Memories are woven tapestries hiding hard walls. Tell me, my friends, what hue your favored thread, and I in turn will tell you the cast of your soul.
Hello, and welcome to the Legendary Green Team's Malazan series. Welcome to episode 1 of the Memories of Ice series. If you haven't listened to our previous episodes, go back and listen, and then come back. I am Hurinfan, and I am joined today by BefuddledPanda.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Hi.
JasnahAsABoy.
Hello.
And Ashaman.
Hi, everybody.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. As a reminder, this is BefuddledPanda's first time reading Memories of Ice. Jasnah has read the first half of Memories of Ice previously and is reading the series for the first time, and Ashaman and I are Malazan veterans. Today, we are covering Memories of Ice Prologue through Chapter 6. If you haven't read these chapters, please stop listening here, as everything in these chapters is fair game for discussion, so spoilers galore. If you haven't read the chapters and wish to continue listening, note there is content warning for violence. As we go chapter by chapter, we will discuss the following. What characters and scenes stood out to you? Any favorite lines from the chapter? Any questions or speculations the chapter bring up with the group?
The prologue. Talana and Mas are chasing a Jagat mother and her children when a rogue bonecaster intervenes. She takes the children and releases them into a warren. Pran Troll catches up to her and informs her that the children have in fact taken the place of an entity which was stealing a rent in said warren, condemning them to an eternity of suffering. 3 elder gods walk among the destruction of Kalor's empire. They then curse Kalor for his misdeeds. Kalor reciprocates.
So, how do you feel about these prologues compared to the last two?
I think it's a good prologue, but it is definitely a different flavor than what we're used to. And we get to see the Talani Mas just before they turn undead, when they're just Emas. And a bonecaster seems to have cut herself away from her clan by murdering them all, except for Tool, the only other survivor, because he stopped her. And yeah, she's probably dead now, right? I mean, it's been 300,000 years and she didn't turn undead, so.
Yeah, she must be dead.
She must be dead.
Panda's shaking her head. We know better than you.
Yeah.
I know you know better than me, but you also tease, so I have learned.
Well, her name is Kalava, so, look for that to not show up in the next 8 books.
Shout out to AP, which we just did with our Erickson interview, which was awesome, by the way. So he does prologue at like deep readings on YouTube, and what stood out to me was the dates. I'm just gonna basically copy what he said, but if you notice the dates in the prologue, they're just like absurd numbers, but they're not like exact numbers, and that's Erickson's way of saying, don't worry about the dates. The dates aren't important, because like one is like eerily close to 300,000 years ago, but it's not 300,000 years ago. I don't know. Which one did you guys prefer? The one with the Emas or Kalor, or the wolf thingy?
I mean, I liked them all. I think the one with Kalor just stands out more because we get a lot of backstory about Kalor and the Elder Gods, and then making the connection. Like, once it was said that one of the Elder Gods was Sister of the Cold Night, it was like very clear that that was Nightchill. So that was
Nice catch.
fun. Yeah, that was fun to piece together. But then once you piece that together, it's like, well, we'll get into it later in the other chapters where, yeah, I have thoughts.
Also, it was from Karul's perspective. We know Karul from Gardens of the Moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he spoke about Draconis. What a cool name, right?
Mm.
First time we've heard that name.
But not the first time we've seen this character.
Not the first
That's
time.
right.
Yeah, he was imprisoned by his own sword. Where have we seen that? Yeah, so which one did you like better?
I don't know. I didn't. They're both, well, the first two for sure, not the third one. The third one I don't understand yet. Probably won't until the book's over. But I really liked how the first one like showed how awful the Talani Mas were and how like kind of terrible their war against the Jag Hut their wars against the Jaghut are. Up
Yeah, they
till
started a
this,
war just to kill what 5 Jaghut.
right? Well, and like up to this point, I had been pretty sympathetic to like both the Jaghut and the Talani Mass. Like I viewed the Talani Mass as like very sad and sympathetic and tragic, and then this was just like this horrible pogrom thing, and yeah. Also, it was really cool, like how the one Bonecaster woman, Tool's sister, tried to, carry out an act of compassion, and then that gets subverted with like the knowledge that she freed a Kachain Shamala matron from some other warren that's not Amtos Falak. We don't know what it is yet, but I don't know. I liked
Okay.
that.
Hold on a second. So a few things. I wasn't sure if the soul that was freed from the warren by Kilava, if that was the matron, the Kachain Chamal, which to me they're big dinosaurs. I mean, they're dinosaurs.
They're dinosaurs, yeah.
Though, did we know that in the prologue or not till like
No.
chapter
In
6?
the prologue, it's not clear at all. Like,
It's not clear
who
in the
the
prologue,
soul-
no.
It's not spelled out, but it is implied.
well, it's
definitely implied that
implied
it's the
that
matron.
they're,
Yeah.
but you don't know about the matron until later in these chapters that we read. So how can you know that it's the matron if you didn't know about the matron?
Pran Chol tells her that it was the matron and that it'll take her a long time to dig out of the barrow.
I think he tells her that it was a Kachain Shamal, but I don't think he told her that was a matron.
There was
Are you
no
sure?
mention of the matron in the prologue. I'm 100% sure.
How did I get that from reading the prologue though? Like I knew
Because
that
you read the first half of this book before.
I don't know, is that important? Should we have to know that it's the matron in the prologue?
For some reason I got it. I don't know how. Maybe it was something else clicking in, but
Yeah, there's no mention of a matron here. It's just
oh wait,
Something
no.
escaped.
it's established that the people who built the city were Kachain Shamal. And then Kalava's
it's
like,
in
I know the
chapter
name, but
1
little
that I
else.
got it. Just kidding. It's Tool tells us in the next chapter.
Hmm.
Sorry, I got my brain scrambled here.
Why are we talking about? Is it important?
Hmm?
I'm just wondering.
It's not really
Wondering
important.
if it's important that the soul that was released is the matron of the Kachain Chamal.
Hmm.
Mm.
Oh, that part's important, but I'm just wondering why it's important if it was in the prologue or not in the prologue. Like
It's
explicitly.
important because for first time readers, like we don't know that there is a matron, right? So, like I didn't put it together until much later in the chapters that we read.
I don't think you're supposed to.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I think we're all at like different pages here.
This is all my fault because I got the prologue and chapter 1 like smashed together on this one. Anyway.
But I also wasn't 100% sure even later on. I had a question later on, was like, oh, is it the matron? But I am getting confirmation here that yes, it is.
I'm not confirming anything. I know that Pram Chol thinks it's the matron.
Oh god.
Actually, that's what I know too. And that Tool seems to think so.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't love these. I'm gonna bring up quite a few parts in the first 6 chapters where I don't love something that Erickson's doing, and part of it is so we see the image of the eye. I forgot what the eye, the dogs that are with the Imas, and they're stuck in a bog, fighting, killing themselves for hunting, right? And I think that's a really poignant image, and it worked great as a metaphor for the Imas and the Jaghut, right? But then, like 2 paragraphs after that's mentioned, it's literally spelled out for us by Pran Chol and the other Bonecaster, and I think it kind of loses its meaning.
Redundant.
Yeah.
Do you think this is because, like, I don't know, if he had gotten criticism like, oh, your stuff is too vague, and so he's like, fine, I'm just gonna spell it out for you.
I think that's exactly what happened. But like it happens in the same part with Kilava. and like they mentioned that she'd recently had children, and then it literally says large swollen breasts, which means she recently had children. I'm like, well, like I could probably figure that out if you just say large swollen breasts, or like even later they said that they were suckling.
Hey, you never know what causes a woman to have large swollen breasts.
Yeah, especially the EMAS women, they could just be.
Spontaneous lactation is a thing.
It is. So I think that it's said a lot.
You mean there's just redundancy?
Yes, and a lot more beating over the head.
So yeah, obviously this isn't an exactly great moment for the Talanamas, but I don't think this it's necessarily like, I think they're still very sympathetic, is what I'm saying. Partially because they don't actually have any malice towards the Jagat, as we see when the Bonecast, the Pranchel is like, oh no, she's gonna release the souls of 2 children into a rent, and they're gonna suffer for eternity. I'm gonna try and stop that if I can. And also because, they have been greatly victimized by members of the Jagat race before, and
Do we know that?
Yeah, they're Jagat tyrants.
Oh, well, but the Jaghut tyrants also victimize their own people.
I think this is a little bit about the difference between the EMAS and the Jaghut, right? So the EMAS are entirely communal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the sins of one are the sins of all. They kind of see it like that. And Kilava killed her whole clan to be free of that, right? And their community and their clan is everything to them, whereas the Jaghut are very individualistic. So it's kind of a clash between cultures. Like I disagree with Ashaman. I think the EMAS are terrible. I think Ashaman's trying to make a case for genocide because like some Jaghut were mean to them one time.
Well, it's not one time. It's it was obviously a pattern that was going on, right? And I think it's made more complicated by the fact that like each individual Jaghut is so powerful. The discomfort of living next to a species that could enslave you and everyone you know at any moment, and such a thing would be resolved, maybe in a couple centuries. It makes me understand what they're doing.
I agree. I understand them. I just think they're absolutely in the wrong. And it's not simple.
I'm not clear and bought in on their motivation, but at the same time, like I'm only seeing what Erickson is showing to me now. I don't know if like later on it becomes clearer, like how he did it with the nobility in Deadhouse Gates and Lacine. So I'm open-minded, but at the moment it's like I'm like not quite on board.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's supposed to be on board with it.
Okay.
Really.
I just think we should understand.
Yeah.
Especially from the cultural perspective.
I guess I didn't quite understand reading the prologue of how they were killing this Jaghut mother.
I imagine all the ice magic would have made their lives pretty difficult as well.
Okay, that's fair.
But wasn't that a defense mechanism? Like, didn't they do that because of the IMAS making a war on them?
I assume partially, but there are certainly cases where Jaghut do it for not those reasons.
Yeah, I mean that's just them using the tools that are at their dispense.
Yeah,
in ways that are useful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like naturally the two are just conflicting. So
yeah,
that's what I'm getting.
And yeah, I get the feeling that the Jaghut don't have a lot of care for the EMAS in general anyways, so why would the EMAS care about them?
Okay.
So we see the Elder Gods, and Elder Gods are unpleasant. Because Krul was walking through the Empire, and he was, if not directly causing, at least indirectly a component of people slaughtering each other in his wake, so he could draw power from them, or draw power from their blood, which is pretty messed up.
He was just kind of getting like passive power from all the chaos and killing. Not like.
But is he influencing them to be chaotic?
The way that I read it, it was like a passive aura, like him walking through the countryside, caused people to be more bloodthirsty and to slaughter and draw blood in his wake. And then he was like, "Oh, well, that may be unfortunate, but I'll need that power." So
Yeah, because the power goes to him, and I don't think the blood sacrifices count unless it's on in some way linked to him.
Yeah, it's cruel, right?
Cruel is
Yeah.
cruel. What is his hold? I guess.
Nope.
Rapho.
That's
Okay.
Jess is
Save
smiling.
it for later.
and we also get to meet Calor right after the height of his power, and the curse that they bestow on him. And
Yes.
Calor is quite the character. He has a lot of supporters in the fandom.
Yeah, what'd you think about Calor? Your first impressions?
He's a jerk.
yeah,
Yeah, 12 million slaves.
And he,
Mhm.
I mean, he killed them all.
yeah.
Not directly.
Well, he burned. Anyway.
So the cause of all the destruction was the fall of the crippled god, and that
Right.
was caused by mages calling them down upon calling the crippled god down on the continent in an attempt to kill Calor.
So that is initially what the mistake that AP made when he put out his first prologue video. The fall of the crippled god killed people on one of the two continents, not the one that Calor was on when the elder gods came. He directly takes credit for killing the citizens of his empire on that continent because he wanted to prevent the elder gods from freeing them from his dominion. According to him in this prologue, there's two continents.
Right, but Calor is walking. I know Cruel walked across this one and saw all the destruction, right? And he saw the body of the crippled god being fed upon by the great ravens, who we
Right.
learn are there.
And then he crosses over onto the continent that Calor's on.
Is it a different
Which is
continent?
not the same. Yes, they're sister continents. It says it in the prologue. You can miss it very easily.
Corelri and Jakaruku.
Yeah, so
yes.
So I believe it's Corelri where the crippled god fell, and then it's Jakaruku where the confrontation with Calor takes place.
Okay.
Cruel walks across Corelri, I think, unless I'm getting the backwards, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. He walks across Corelri, he gets to Jakaruku, and then they have their like little Zoom call with each other and are like, "Oh, we're about to walk into the throne room," and so the two gods that aren't at the throne room already used their warn to get there.
Did Calor, is he part of the ritual that created Telanimas? Or am I
No.
making that up?
Those
Okay.
are unrelated.
Unrelated. Okay. But he did kill his 12 million slaves.
According to what he says in the prologue, and then later on in the chapters we read for this episode, the Maiba, however you say that, thinks to herself that he takes credit for destroying his own empire.
I think this is just a theory that he takes credit because he was the leader, right? And it's a bit of a self-hatred thing going on.
But I mean, if he didn't do it, then who did?
Oh, they could have torn themselves apart because of starvation. I mean, the sister continent was destroyed. It probably had just an idea. He literally could have killed them all. I don't know how, but I mean, how would you kill 12 million people?
He's
like one person without support.
He
He
sounds
is good with a sword, but
right. So he says that he burned them all, but he's not a mage, so I don't understand how he could have done that. So
I'm just throwing it as an idea. I'm not saying it's definitive. I just think that maybe he's just taking credit because
Is it said definitively later in the series what happened?
No comment.
Okay. So, I mean, something happened, whether it's Calor or whoever else, basically burned this continent. And it basically was so bad that the elder gods were like, we're gonna need to isolate this whole thing. And it's Cruel who like pulls all of this into his warren.
Yeah.
Which
into a warren.
Oh,
Into
into
A
Warren.
Warren.
a Warren, which like later on, I think it is said that this is the Imperial Warren.
That is correct.
Okay.
It's also implied when you put together what Kalam discovers about the Imperial Warren with the prologue, because he sees the symbol of Calor's empire and it's like, I've seen this symbol before. Calor, blah 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 blah. And so and he doesn't
Mhm.
share any of that information with anybody he's traveling with, but
Right. Yeah. Okay. So Topper, when he had said to Paran in Gardens, like, we carved this Warren, the Imperial Warren, out of ourselves or whatever.
Oh, did you say that? Yeah, that's
I think so. That is incorrect.
maybe they like carved up the little part of it that's like close to the where the Imperial Palace connects with that Warren, like out for their
Okay.
own usage. But yeah, that's
That's a good point.
they
Maybe
didn't
it's just
make it.
propaganda.
Yeah,
Well, they did a dumb job putting it in the throne room anyway.
I actually recently figured out why that would be a good idea.
Oh, why?
Well, because if they're super confident that only Lysine, the Adjunct, and the Claw are like
Using it?
freely traveling the Imperial Warren, at least that close to Unta, then it's an escape route for the Empress, or a way to bring in backup if there's a situation.
Okay.
We're like on Gardens of the Moon now. We're way off track.
I mean, part of it is also just connecting the dots with what we've already read before and
Hmm.
getting more understanding. So
Right. That's true.
Ash looks deep in thought.
Oh,
you broke his
I
world.
don't have anything to add to this. So
So what we know, Karul and the two others, Nightchill and Draconis, cursed Calor with a really, really, really bad curse. Calor says he killed 12 million people. The crippled god fell down, and now the all that devastation is inside a warren that is not the Imperial Warren.
And he cursed the gods in turn.
Yes.
And we saw all of these curses fulfilled that Calor did on them in the first book.
Yes. That was fun to like. Oh, hey, I remember that happened in Garden, so that's what it was. Yeah.
Any quotes?
I've got one. Oh,
Go ahead.
so mine was, the foreign god had been torn apart in his descent to Earth. He had come down in pieces, in streaks of flame. His pain was fire, screams and thunder, a voice that had been heard by half the world. Pain and outrage. And, Cruel reflected, grief. It would be a long time before the foreign god could begin to reclaim the remaining fragments of his life, and so begin to unveil its nature. Cruel feared that day's arrival. From such a shattering could only come madness.
Dun dun dun.
I like foreshadowing.
Yes. Well, the last book in the series is called The Crippled God.
Really?
I know that much. I just put in my notes, like, is this going to be Revenge of the Fallen at the end?
Maybe.
Revenge of the Fallen? Oh, God. You and your Transformers movies.
Oh my god, that's
help
a
it.
Transformers movie.
I'm just glad you didn't bring any of that stuff up with Steve.
You embarrassed us.
I didn't tell him that I compared his writing to Disney.
Okay, I have a quote.
Mm.
I just thought this was really nice writing. He walked as if gathering suffering unto himself, unmindful of its vast weight. Walked as if incapable of yielding, of denying the gifts of his own spirit. I think it's metal. That was Karul.
Cruel. I think I found a pun.
Share it.
So this is Kanig Tol and Paran Chol talking after learning about Kilava going to somewhere, blah, blah, blah. What distresses you? A renegade bonecaster has taken the children. South? To mourn. Get it?
Yeah, that's good.
Mm.
The rent's name is Morn, but it's also to Warren. That's great. I like that.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's on purpose.
I sub-vocalize when I read, which is why I'm a slow reader, and so for me, these kinds of things are a bit more prominent. The white furred beast.
Ah, yeah, that beast. It's come up a few times, didn't it?
It's got
Interesting.
one eye, and it's lost its mate.
Mm.
I don't know who it is. The only thing I know is Talk the Younger has one eye, which the beast does meet Talk the Younger, which we find
Talk
out
the Younger
later.
thinks he has one eye.
Ah! If I were there right now, I'd be flipping tables.
Yes, that's a very good catch. But remember last time that you put two things together, like having one arm? Maybe it's not linked.
No. I am not saying that they are for sure like, the same or anything. I'm just saying my observations. Talk has one eye that we know of. Belladin lost his mate. That's it. I don't know who the wolf is or the white furred beast because Pranchol is also the what was he? Silver wolf, white fox.
He's a
Something.
fox, an arctic.
He's a
He's a
fox.
fox. Yeah.
White fox. Okay.
Not a silver fox, though.
No, not a silver fox. Silver fox is somebody else.
Mm-hmm. All right,
That's all. Yeah.
Chapter 1.
Gruntle, a caravan guard, encounters Bacalon and Corbel Broach, men he suspects of foul play. An ancient wolf comes upon Talk, unconscious in the warren of chaos. Talk wakes at morn and meets Tool, Lady Envy, her pets, and 3 Sigula.
Any scenes stood out to you or characters? Panda, do you want to take it?
Talk. Oh my goodness. Talk is alive. Ha.
Or you think so?
Mm. Talk is freaking alive. Talk and Tool. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Those
the
two.
romance is instant between them, isn't it?
Oh. I mean, okay. I wanted to who looked it up? Somebody looked it up before. I think it was Kip. Kip helped me look up whether or not there were Malazan fanfic. There are some, but there's not a ton. So I'm just saying, lots of opportunity there. I don't think there's one of Tool and Talk, and
Really?
I
That's
feel
surprising.
like
The potential that lies within having one of your partners be literally a man of bones.
And dust.
we're not going there.
Let's move on.
Oh God. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Talk Tool. I don't know which one I like better, Talking Tool or Mappo and Ikarium, but they're both great.
Tool has an excellent sense of humor, so I pick Talking Tool every day.
Mm.
Yeah. Tool's dry humor combined with like the clapbacks that Talk doesn't vocalize that are in his internal monologue are
I like Lady Envy.
Yeah, she's pretty funny.
She's a slaver.
She is.
Technically. She just needed some servants, and lo and behold, 3 servants offered themselves up.
It was nice
Did
of
they
them.
really offer themselves up?
Well, they tried to kill her, so.
I think what's cool about Lady Envy is that she's the daughter of Nightchill.
Draconis.
Draconis. Right. Okay, daughter of Draconis, which makes her also an elder god or just a god?
It makes her position very confused. I'm pretty sure I know what she is, but I cannot
Can't say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We know her mother too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
She traveled
yes.
with Animander for a while, and anybody who travels with Animander is like the real deal, right?
Oh,
I wish I could travel with Animander.
so her mother is Burn.
Don't think about it. It's just a tease. Literally, you won't know forever.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
great.
not going to guess it.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a way for you to guess it.
No, there's no way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we get to meet the Sigula, and aren't they cool?
They're pretty funny and pretty cool.
Like a 14-year-old boy was able to, give a Tool a little bit of a pause.
But yeah, it is pretty cool to see, like, because we saw Animander, who is, and Cruel's, like, well, not exactly their POV, but like, got to see more of them previously. And with Lady Envy, she's younger than those two, and it shows. I think in the way that she interacts with all the other characters, she's more lively.
That is certainly true.
I also enjoy the fact that Draconis named her after a vice instead of the more common tradition of naming someone after a virtue, like chastity, because that just leads to people being strippers, right? So maybe Draconis was like, I'm going to pull a bit of reverse psychology on my own children. Call her Envy. Maybe she'll be a good person.
Oh dear.
Is she though?
Is she? Envy and spite. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, names are not lightly given, so there's meaning there.
Mhm.
But also like she doesn't care. The Segula are the most terrifying fighters or whatever in this world.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter. They're gonna go and set up her bath.
Yeah. She knows she's stronger than pretty much everyone she meets.
She's cool.
Mhm.
What was up with the wolf in the Chaos Warren and Talk waking up?
I don't know.
Cool. So, I liked Stunny and Gruntle,
Hmm.
and I like
I
little
like
exchanges.
I like Gruntle. Stunny is not my favorite.
She is one of those people that doesn't want to be hurt and so really overcompensates.
But she's also kind of cruel.
Yeah, that's her overcompensating.
I just like when Curly was talking with Gruntle. He's like, "Hey, I think your partner's getting. I think you need to stop her. Damn, I can't find it.
She's getting drunk.
Yeah, she's getting drunk. He's like, oh, that can't be right. I don't hear a brawl.
Yeah.
How awesome of an employer is Karuli, by the way?
Yeah, that guy's awesome.
Something about him.
Something about him. Yeah. Well, he certainly has access to magic to some degree, as Bacalin and Brooch note.
Mm-hmm.
He seems like a nice guy
Yeah.
So far.
so far. Yeah, a bit mysterious.
Mm-hmm. And I also like how in pretty much any other series, Bacalin and Brooch would be the villains. Here they're just two guys kind of wandering through the land.
They are the villains. Come on, let's be serious.
They are villains, but they're not the villains.
Oh, okay.
There are bigger villains than them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that one dude. Panion Domin dude.
Yeah, what's up with him?
Panion Seer. The Panion
Panion Seer.
domain is his domain, as it were.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's quiet over there. What are you thinking?
I have a short little quote. It's a very grimdark quote, even though this is not a grimdark book. It's Gruntle's POV, and he's thinking, and the fact remained, whatever games the gods played, it was hardworking, dirt poor bastards like him who suffered for it.
Aw. Yes.
Gruntle is a tad bit cynical.
A
Yep.
tad.
Mm-hmm.
Is he as cynical as Duiker, though? Not quite, right?
I don't think so.
I think he is.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because DeWicker at least thinks he might be doing some good as Imperial Historian. I don't think Gruntle thinks that he could make a change in the world, and if he wouldn't matter. Which is why he's a caravan guard who spends all of his money drinking.
But he's also got tragedy or something in his life, right?
That Buke does.
Yeah,
Well,
Buke does.
Gruntle, isn't it like he had a woman and she
He had a woman and she just married somebody else while he was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that sucks, but I wouldn't call it tragedy.
That's true. Heartbroken.
I mean, maybe it was a tragedy, but it's heavily downplayed in the text if it was.
It's true.
We see the rent again.
Yes.
That's cool.
And
That's really good.
now all those barrows are empty.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah. I was not 100% sure. This is when I had the whole like, okay, so is the soul that got released, is that the matron? You guys confirmed. But also like
Did
people shut up. People also looted those tombs, right? Otherwise, how did we get the bone phone and
That might
Right?
not have been from here.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just from some Kachin Shamal ruins somewhere.
Don't think about the bone phone.
Oh, right, because it was a garden of a moon ism.
Also, there are quite a few ruins of the Kachin Shamal around.
Okay.
Quite a few.
Um,
There's a few. There are some.
Yeah, they preceded all the elder races, right? Like they preceded the Talani Mass and the Jackhood and all of that.
Who buried them?
I did.
What an excellent question. As for them preceding every other race, I don't think we can say that for sure.
Ever?
Okay. Okay. The timelines are fuzzy. Not everyone originated in the same place. That is what I will say.
Fair. Yeah, not the who buried them, but not only who buried them, who put a bunch of wards in so that it would take thousands of years for them to dig themselves out of their tombs. Because wasn't that brought up too? That there were like a bunch of wards and it would take them forever.
Yeah, what a good question.
I don't know the answer, unlike these guys.
Maybe they don't know the answer either.
I'm not telling.
Yeah, stroke your beard and appear wise, Huron.
Not say anything.
I want to know what happened to the two children, the Jackut children. You don't have to tell me anything, obviously. But also, for a moment there, I thought that maybe the rent was caused by that crazy mage we saw in Dead House Gates. And like, Lagana was. Never mind. It didn't make sense. Don't worry about it.
The rent was not caused by that crazy mage.
No.
The crazy mage was just a mortal who kind of got overtaken by his power.
Right.
And from Ojotaro. Yeah, the rents aren't linked. I think the rent in book 2 is just introduced so you know kind of what the rent is and how terrible they are.
And introduce that soul's seal rent.
Mhm.
Yes. And it's agonizing.
Mhm. For eternity. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Unless somebody else
Pops
helps you out
in.
there. Which Kalava is not willing to do for children.
This is I don't like Kalava. Like
I don't
kudos
either.
for trying to save some children, but she also presumably slaughtered quite a bit of children from her own clan to do so,
Yes.
and tried to kill her brother, but was unsuccessful.
I thought she killed everybody so that she could free herself and her brother. And her brother was like, hey, don't do that. And then they fought.
No.
She was like, his power exceeded my own, alas.
Yeah.
So I assume they tested each other at least.
But I thought she literally said that she did it for her brother and herself.
I think she did it for herself.
Okay.
I think her brother just overpowered her, and the consequence of that is he got a freedom that he didn't want.
Mhm. Yay, all my friends are dead.
Isn't that what the dinosaurs say?
I don't think
Never
the
mind.
dinosaurs spoke English.
Never mind.
Oh, the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A broken stone bridge causes so much problems.
Yes. Bridges are very useful.
They are very useful. I don't know if that's going to be important later, but
Shall we move on to chapter 2?
I'm good.
Picker and Blend accost a merchant named Munug, biting a torque from him in the process. Munug delivers a set of cards to the crippled god. Quick Ben follows a tracker to the crippled god, who attempts to enlist his services. Ben escapes and learns that the god is poisoning Burn. Something is rotten in the state of Paran. Mallet notices.
So yeah, that meeting with the crippled god was gross.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys feel bad for Manug, or are you just like, man, he kind of brought this upon himself?
I mean, his name is Munug, so his
I like
life
that
is
line.
doomed from the start.
Did he introduce himself as Manug, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry.
You poor bastard.
Yeah, that was it.
I really like how Blend not only blends into the physical background, but she also blends into the literary background all the time.
Mm.
And she just kind of shows up sometimes. I always forget that she's there. So
I forgot she was there until you said that.
right? And like she says things, it's just she's just so good at blending in.
Well, even Picker ignores like what Blend says. Okay, so Picker and the torque thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like she couldn't get it off.
Mm.
And then basically we don't hear about it again, at least in the next few chapters that we read.
She talks with Quickben about it a little bit.
Yeah,
And he says,
Quickben's
you're
like,
screwed.
you're just gonna have to keep it on.
Yeah, Treat is too crazy. I can't talk to that guy.
But like later on, when they're moving the table and all of that stuff, like there's no mention of the torque at all. I don't know if it will get mentioned again later and that's important. Probably, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, Treach is showing up a lot.
Yeah, I
These
don't really know what
torques,
Treach is.
There's okay. He was for a while just an ascended soul taken. And then a couple centuries ago, he stopped reverting back to human form and became essentially just a tiger.
Okay.
Like in the chapters right after the ones we read for this.
No, this is mentioned in these chapters.
Oh.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't get it till chapter 7 or 8.
I don't think that was specifically mentioned.
Quickben mentions that Treach is insane now.
So they keep talking about Treach, and they're like, "What? He's not a god. He's a first hero."
Mm.
But this is the first we've ever heard of a first hero, and the lines that we didn't know were here before seem to be blurring.
Well, notice the word first. Where have you seen the word first before?
First sword.
There's lots of firsts, right?
What?
Okay, the First Empire. Do you remember that in Deadhouse Gates?
Yes.
And how kind of destroyed itself because there's so many soul taken. Well, Treach is a soul taken and a first hero.
Oh. Okay, I found it. Yeah, 5 centuries ago, maybe, Treach veered into a soul taken from hundreds of years ago. The beast hasn't had a human thought since. It's
Oh.
not just mindless, it's insane, Picker.
I stand corrected.
Perfect for a soldier. The Tiger of Summer, the Lord of Battle. That's all I know.
Is that familiar? Like that, No? Okay.
You don't remember anything about summer and war?
What?
Let's just move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's just move
Okay.
on.
Munug is delivering some cards to the crippled god. Any thoughts on that, Panda?
What's with those cards?
Yeah. Deliberately flawed cards, he says.
My thoughts were, what's the crippled god gonna do with the deck that Mana gave him?
I don't know.
Interesting, isn't it? Also, how awful is it to be a worshiper of the crippled god?
Yeah, you do something
God.
for him, and he just cripples you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, first of all, yes, his name is the crippled god. I don't know what Munug was expecting. And he got crippled. I feel bad for the guy, I do. But at the same time, it's like you're making a deal with the devil, basically. So
Yeah. I mean,
what do you expect?
he sort of knows what he's going into because he knows what to say to the crippled god. And
Right.
afterwards he says, "Blessed is the touch of the fallen one. Lead me, dear master, down the paths of despair. For I deserve this world's pain and unending bounty."
And that's what he got.
Yeah. Here we begin to see the fetishization of suffering. And, well, there are certainly a lot of people who do that.
I don't know what he's going to do exactly with the deck. Honestly, the deck is still pretty confusing to me. I know it represents things that are real.
1 point.
Okay.
It's never mentioned that it's a deck. It is a set of cards.
Isn't it called Deck of Dragons?
Yes.
Oh, you mean the cards that were given to?
Yeah, Munna gives the crippled god some cards. But he does not give him a deck.
Probably Uno.
Okay, I got nothing.
I like how this first hour is us just kind of going, And Penna's just so confused.
Honestly, yes. With Gardens, sure, things were confusing, but it was more contained and things were you get enough conclusions as you go on and at a pretty quick rate. With this one, the first 6 chapters is just so much setup. And I really have more questions than answers than, before. So.
Yep.
Which is fine. I get it. It's just I'm ready for some answers.
How awesome was Quickbin confronting the crippled god, though?
That was pretty
That
cool.
was pretty cool.
Like, that was an awesome scene. And then, like, going down into Burn and seeing little, like, diamond people that are, like, dying.
Like holding
that are,
up
like,
her.
I think of them as, like, Burn's white blood cells, but I could be wrong about that.
That's how I
Um,
imagined it too.
Yeah, that stuff was awesome.
In this
really
in
liked
this
it.
in this bit, we see just how much Quickben doesn't have it together, in my opinion. He is a very much fly by the seat of your pants kind of guy who improvises all the time, basically.
But we also see how like much he wants to be in control and like how much he thinks he has it together because
He thinks he's a very big player, yeah.
yeah, he takes on the quest of stopping the crippled god from killing Burn as like a personal quest. Doesn't tell anyone about. I mean, we get that more in the next couple chapters too, but so I didn't have it in my notes till later, but yeah,
Yeah.
this guy.
I think he likes responsibility. Like he hears about this quest, he's like, it's my war now.
Yeah.
Wow, that was fast.
He likes to feel important.
He's got a
'Cause-
strong sense of ownership.
Yeah, and he likes keeping things from other people, which
Yeah,
I would be so infuriated if I was Quickben's friend.
Collab.
manager.
Right.
God.
Like I was going to talk about this later because it's in a later chapter, but he thinks to himself when he's talking to Whiskey Jack later that he's gonna I better not tell Whiskey Jack till I know more, because like if he's upset with what I just told him, he'll be really upset when he finds out the world's gonna end. And it's like, maybe you should like get help on this one, dude. Like it's the whole world.
Yes.
I both really enjoy and really didn't enjoy the quick bin sections, partially because it has like lots of really cool world building stuff and lots of setup that's like really interesting, but also a lot of exposition that I also thought was unnecessary, like the prologue. Like he knows that they're outlaws and just spells it out for us in his brain, kind of unnaturally, in my opinion. Like, oh, like we're outlaws, like I'm like the Queen of England.
What?
What?
You know what? Oh, fine.
Queen of England?
I'll bring up the section. I didn't want to quote it, but
No.
I'm not entirely sure which bit you're talking about, but I think this is at least partially Erickson reminding the reader of what's happened.
Yeah. I think this is like if we had read this book, 6 months from now, after
I'm saying I
finishing.
don't like it.
Sure. That's fine.
Here it is. Outlaws are we, indeed, and Hood dreams of sheep gamboling in green pastures too.
Well, that's kind of showing us that Quickbin doesn't buy it, which is something that we did not know yet.
But then he says it again. No, by the abyss, we've all decided to fight a new enemy, assuming the parley goes smoothly, and given the Derugian Sand rulers are already negotiating with us, it seems likely a new enemy. Some theocratic empire devouring city after city in a seemingly unstoppable wave of fanatic ferocity, the Panyan Doman. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Never mind, it's time to find my wayward tracker. That whole thing just feels unnatural to me.
Do you feel like maybe it's because you've read this 5 times?
I don't feel like that way about Gardens of the Moon at all, or Dead House Gates, or any of the other books in the series. I think it's just especially egregious in this one.
Okay. That's fair. Which were who?
Are you all right?
Yeah.
How?
Why?
I'm sorry. Okay, let me try that again. Who were the gods that chained the crippled god to Burn? Why did they think that was a good idea? Why didn't they destroy the crippled god in the first place?
I think we get at least one of the people who chains him, right? Not this chapter, but next.
In Gardens of the Moon, we get Krupp reading from that book talking about the chaining, or chaining.
And who was
Yeah.
present? Yeah.
No, it's the chaining of the crippled god, because it's like the title of the book that Krupp's reading, and he reads off like 13 names before he starts crying about how long it is.
Yeah, it's like everyone was there, including my grandmother.
Okay, good point. I forgot about that.
That was only one of the chainings, though.
Oh, there was only one of the
What?
chainings? How many chainings were there?
Raffo.
Oh, okay. So the crippled god bred caution, but not well enough, for the powers of the earth came to it in the end. for the powers of the earth came to it in the end. That means burn, right? Powers of the earth burn. Okay. Chained was the crippled god, and so chained was it destroyed. And upon this barren plain that imprisoned the crippled god, many gathered to the deed. Blah, blah, blah. Hood was among the gathering, as was December, Hood's warrior. So I have a theory.
Let's hear it.
Cruel, Hood. That's my theory.
Cruel is Hood.
I think they're the same.
Okay.
But if that's the case, I don't know who December would be. December, then Hood's warrior, which implies that. Oh yeah, and then it says December shattered the bonds Hood held upon him.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Also, you asked why they didn't kill the crippled god. Well, this isn't an answer to that question. It also wouldn't have solved the problem.
Which problem?
Oh, the problem of Burn being poisoned.
But isn't Burn poisoned because of the crippled god being chained to Burn?
Yeah, but if you kill a god, that power doesn't just vanish.
Go away.
Yeah.
If you draw that to conclusion, though, that would mean there is no way to save Burn. Like, can you
certainly a pickle. This is why in a later chapter, Animander and Kaladin Brood are like, what do we do? And neither of them knows the answer, even though, they both probably could kill the crippled god. I don't know.
Well, it was more of if they killed the crippled god. No, if they said unchain the crippled god. I don't know if Animander and Brood have the ability to actually kill the crippled god. They can unchain him.
That's true.
From Burn, which if they do that, then
everyone dies.
Yeah, Kaladin Brood's a bit of a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
He's between a rock and a hard place, I would say. I don't think he is
between.
a rock in a hard place.
He is both a rock and a hard place, and between the rock and hard place.
He is so cool.
I had no quotes for this section, by the way.
Does anybody care about Perron's bits here? I don't.
I do.
Oh.
I do.
His parts broke my heart. I thought it was sad. Really sad.
Yep.
Trust in your sister. His pain eased slightly.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that's. Man, we can move on from that because I don't have anything else to say.
I did actually take a quote from Perron's bit. A year ago, he would have spoken those words out loud in the belief that bearing ugly truths was a good thing to do. The misguided notion that it was the soldier's way, when in fact, it's the opposite that's the soldier's way. In a world full of pitfalls and sinkholes, you dance the edges. Only fools jump feet first, and fools don't live long besides.
That's one of my favorite quotes from the chapter.
So I'm going to bring up another part that kind of irked me, and that was when Whiskey Jack's like, hey, Perrin, you don't have to do this if you want to. And then Perrin thinks to himself, I might take a knife in the back. The Bridgeburners have a dislike for noble-born officers. My listeners can not see me, but I just rolled my eyes.
That aside, I think the learning not to just say everything that is true is something that like a lot of, at least I went through. People go through in their lives when they're growing up. When you're adolescent, you're thinking, everything sucks. Nobody knows what's going on. Adults are all lying about being in control. And so they just like go off at people, and they tell people things that like are the ugly truths, and they think that they're doing good by doing this. But spoiler alert, everybody already knows you're not doing anything. you're not contributing anything of worth here. All you are is trying to tear people down.
I relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
During my adolescent years, yes.
I think everybody goes through it.
Yeah, it's more of like,
wake up, sheeple.
For me, it's impatience. Like, I don't like dancing around a topic. I'm more of to get to the point, get to the results and the outcome. But not everybody communicates that way. And some people, they like the how do you do? How's your family? What'd you
Ugh.
do last weekend? Blah, 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 right? Which, I enjoy that to a degree, but at the same time, I'm also like, okay, I only got so much time in the day. I need to get A, B, C, D done. So it can be challenging to balance those things.
Imagine how long these podcasts would be if we had someone like that on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, do listeners feel that way already?
Probably.
I'm usually the one who says, oh, wait, there's one more thing. Sorry.
Well, does anybody have any more things? We're good. Excellent. Chapter 3. Through the Maibi's eyes, we see the meeting between the Malazans and Kaladin Barud's forces. The parley goes well, aside from Kalor's insistence that they murder Silverfox. Whiskey Jack and Corlett discuss the nature of the new Bonecaster.
The parlay goes well. Besides that, that huge event that happened that everyone freaked out about.
Yep.
And Whiskey Jack backhanded Calor, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, Keller's not a nice guy in this chapter. Not a nice guy.
He's not a nice guy, but again, he does have so many defenders. I've seen a lot of people say that he's their favorite character.
Why?
Raffo?
Reasons that we cannot speak of at the moment. I'm trying to put myself in Calor's shoes, where he had a lot of power, he was doing his thing, and then these three figures come in intruding on his domain, and they curse him, and he's like, "Well, right back at ya."
Right, bad curses too.
Well,
Mhm.
think about how scared he must be too, because his curse on Nightchill has already been fulfilled, and now she's back. Like, that's how he
Yeah.
sees it. We might see it as like, oh, it's Downer Sale, let's cuddle her. But Calor sees Nightchill.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
true.
And yeah, like everybody's worried about it. It's not just Kalor. He's just the only one thinking that they should kill her and be done with it.
He has a personal reason, whereas all the other people are like, we don't know what this power is, right? Like, it's a child right now.
We might need her.
She commands the Telanimas. Like, we
And
know
they're-
how.
Isn't that a terrifying concept?
Well, and they're freaked out by the idea that she might be right that they will need the Talani Mass, because it implies that they're in a bigger pickle than they have thought they were up until now.
Mm-hmm.
So the implications are terrifying for them, beyond just her being scary. The idea she might be right is also scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love Silverfox. Silverfox,
I like her
I
too.
do too, but isn't the Maib the saddest character ever?
I feel so bad for her.
Yes, because I think that the growing old is a famously awful thing that people go through, right? And she didn't even get her youth. It's just all taken away from her. Like, I don't know, she's like 20 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brood says yeah, I remember you. You were
Mhm.
lively girl
She was sought after.
Mm-hmm.
and denied men. Is Silver Fox a virgin birth?
Oh wow!
I read it as she only really denied the marriage.
Ah, okay.
Because I have no clue about the Rivi culture surrounding sex.
We don't know. Well, and it's yeah, never mind.
Yeah, sad story. Just keep reading.
Mm-hmm.
Also sad. Thai standee, depressing people.
Yeah.
I really like Corlett and the Mibes relationship though.
Corlett is cool, yes. And immediately, everyone can always tell how cool Whiskey Jack is because as soon as they see him, they're like, oh, this is a guy I can trust.
Yes. He just gives off that aura, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a magic aura? Is he?
He just has a charisma score of 20.
I don't know. I don't know if I trust him.
It's an 18, but the +2 from the beard.
Weird.
And the
Weird.
and the gray eyes.
Well, isn't it is it Corlac or Maib who was like, oh, He's also kind of attractive or something. I don't
It
know.
was Corlat, and there's a lot of eyebrow raising
Oh,
between
yeah.
Corlat and Whiskey Jack.
I think it was Corlat, but the Mybe was like, I don't blame her.
To be young again, she thinks to herself, and then remembers that she is young.
It's a 20-year-old
Right.
woman.
There was a quote about that I didn't actually put in my notes. A quote about like Silver Fox, Corlat, and the Mybe standing next to each other, and how like their apparent ages were like all the reverse of like what their actual ages were. And I thought that was pretty cool.
And we get the invocation of the classic trope, 3 Faces of Eve. One of my favorite.
Oh.
I don't know.
The 3
Explain it.
Yeah. The 3 phases are meant to mirror the 3 phases in a woman's life, or more generally, woman's life with a capital M, capital W. So you have the maiden, the matron, and then the crone. And they all represent different things. If listeners, if you were interested in this, look it up on TV Tropes. There is a fantastic breakdown.
So Corlat and Crone, and that's cool.
And you see it popping up everywhere once you learn about it.
I really like the parts between Crone too and the Mybe. So yeah, there's another part in here that I didn't like. When the Mybe is talking to herself, and she's like the whole time they're talking about how precocious and how Silver Fox grown up so fast and how she's stealing her mom's, and then she's like, "Oh, the girl is so precocious." Like, do we need that line? I'm sorry. I won't bring it up in the next episode, but this episode I'm gonna bring it up every time I see it.
Is it more that you feel like Ericsson's just being more verbose than what you're used to?
It's not just verboseness. It's like repeating things that we already know and not being subtle about it.
Okay.
You think he's holding our hands?
Sure, but like, yeah, that's probably it. But the lack of subtlety is really what gets me. It's like, it's not this chapter. I'll bring it up in the other chapter when I can complain again.
I did have something that's more somber to bring up, and it's about the ghosts. Like, the ghosts feel betrayed. Once enemies, now allies. So many people died on the Siege of Pale, right on those plains, and they're hanging around there where they died, and now they're seeing the people who killed them like being accepted and quote unquote embraced, and there's this parley going on, and they're like, "Avenge my death, what are you doing?" At least that's how I think they sound like. And it makes sense that they feel betrayed, and that's I think maybe that, I don't know for sure since we are only 6 chapters in, but it may be a theme, because there are other things that come up where actually Silver Fox does this in this chapter. You fight in your mind, raising up all the differences between us. You struggle to hold on to your dislike, your hatred of them, for that is what is familiar. Memories are the foundations of such hatred. But, Mother, memories had another truth, a secret one, and that is all that we have experienced. Yes? Experiences. They are what we share from opposite sides, perhaps, but they are the same. The same. And it's more about like, when there's for any given event, all the different parties, you're all experiencing the same thing, but you have different biases and different perspectives of what the event is. So the Corlot then says, experiences are the same between your 2 armies indeed, but also across the breadth of time. Among all who possess memories, whether an individual or people, life's lessons are ever the same lessons, even among the Tilan Emas. Is this what you are telling us, child? And yeah, it's something to noodle on, I guess.
Noodle.
Yes, noodle. And I've definitely experienced this where, you're either in like disagreement with somebody, or somebody does something to hurt you, and it is very hard to forgive them. And there's this desire to hold on to that fire, that feeling, because at the same time it kind of feels like power. And I've definitely had this experience multiple times where it is hard for me to admit, like, maybe how I felt about the event that happened was more extreme than it needed to be, but it's it is easier to say, no, I was right, you were wrong. Yeah.
That
anyway.
was beautiful, Panda. Thank you. And I was actually going to bring that up next, and the idea of shared memories, especially between people, and how like it's easy, like exactly what you said, and how it's easy to hold that inside you. But
But
I won't say any more.
it's hard when it's like people's lives like ended because of the actions that somebody did or other people did. That's hard, right? Like, it's not like I killed anyone. It's not like somebody killed anybody that, I care about. And it's the spectrum. And I can't even imagine, being the family, the spouse of a soldier or somebody in an event of mass shootings, or like, I am so grateful that I've never been in that position. I hope I will never be in that position. But yeah, I think there's something there about just the strength of humanity from those who can overcome those kinds of events. Yeah, that's all I got.
It reminds me of stories after the war when soldiers on both sides, they would fight each other, they would kill each other, they'd kill each other's friends, and they'd come and they'd have the shared experience of being in the same battle on different sides. And there was sometimes there was animosity there, but more often than not, you read stories about people who just shared word stories and wanted to talk to each other and share this thing that nobody else understands.
The example that comes to mind for me is especially the Pacific theater of World War II, because, yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, that was okay. All war is bad. That one was especially horrific. The Japanese were known to pretend to be dead, and then when the Allies would come, especially the medics, they would blow themselves up, killing. Yeah. So naturally, this escalated the situation. After the war, essentially what happened is America made Japan its ally. And I imagine this would have been incredibly difficult for the soldiers on the American side and presumably the Japanese side as well, because they were such bad enemies. But fast forward to today, and Japan is a thriving society, a great ally of America, to put it in geopolitical terms. And a lot of people have lived very happy lives because, not necessarily through generosity, but America extended a lot of aid to Japan to rebuild. And if they had just kind of destroyed the place and then left it to rot, then that probably wouldn't have turned out as good.
Those were lessons from World War One.
Well,
And from the Civil War.
yeah, just look at the Middle East if you want to think about things that should have been learned from World War One.
I would like to point out that Kalor is the only person in this chapter who stands up for the Jag Hut.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Silver Fox was talking about Talani Mas and their battle with the Jag Hut, and he's like, you know what? Their only crime was to exist, and she just shrugs it off.
Yeah, I did notice that too.
Here's a transition. What's up with Artanthos? Artanthos?
Artanthos?
That's
Artanthos.
Artanthos.
I don't know.
What indeed?
Because Silver Fox, she goes, Artanthos. Silver Fox quietly murmured, "He's not used that name in a long time, nor is he as he appears."
They called him a chimera too, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I will be impressed if you figure out what's going on with Artanthos.
So I don't. No, I don't. And I'm going to make a bad guess so that they can snicker behind their hands at it. Is that Tayshrin?
What?
Is it?
Well, in the
That's
previous
a
book,
theory.
Lasine told Kalam that Tayshrin is Dujek One Arm's shaved knuckle in the hole. And for all I know, he's got like a bag of holding with like something that can summon Tayshrin from somewhere else, and he's not on the page yet. But maybe that's who this Artanthos guy is, who hasn't used that name in a while.
But isn't this dude young?
I mean, Tayshrin is a wizard.
That is true.
He is a wizard. I mean, it's just a guess. I don't really believe that that's necessarily true.
So you're just throwing out a guess and you don't have no conviction in it.
That's true. That's true. It
Okay.
came to me. It came to me when she asked the question, so I threw it out there.
Okay.
That's fair, and I mean that's more than I've got. So
I think it's
I honestly
Haboric.
don't know. You think it's Haboric? But Haboric has ghost hands.
Yeah, no, the problem is that Artanthos wouldn't have been able to hold the banner if it was Harboric.
Well, he's got magic hands.
Later.
But
Oh, and
also,
I do actually have another guess of who it might be.
tell
Oh.
me.
No, I don't. Never mind. I don't think it adds up.
That was quick.
I am going to bring that thing up later, and I'll ask you about it, Panda, but I think it's a later chapter.
Okay.
Where's Bellarden?
Bellarden is also in Silver Fox.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
I will just say this. I roll.
You eye roll?
I eye roll. This verbal eye roll to this.
To what?
This.
To-
I'm not getting
his
more
question?
specific. I'm not getting more specific. That's what you get.
Oh my god. Fine. I have another question. How big is the crippled god? Parts of him were torn away, falling like balls of fire to shatter entire lands. Pieces of his flesh and bone lay rotting yet clinging to a kind of life in their massive craters.
Big.
How big is this dude?
Bigger than a bread box.
Well, yeah.
Also keep
Is-
in mind that meteors produce pretty large impacts for their size.
Yes. Is he actually the fallen? Okay, I'll stop.
Don't they refer to him as the fallen one in the?
Sorry, I was making Transformers.
Oh, you're doing the Transformers thing. Every time you say that, I'm thinking of like the prologue. I'm thinking of Book of the Fallen, and it's
Only a prime can defeat the crippled god. Now there are no primes left.
The crippled god is a meteor confirmed.
It's
Or a
just a rock
meteorite.
that gains sentience.
What?
He's just a
So-
rock that gains sentience.
Are we still on chapter 3? I feel like we're
Aw.
like staggering here.
Yeah, we should go to chapter 4.
Does
Okay,
anybody have anything else from chapter 3?
I have 2 things to say and then I'm done.
I knew it.
Did Whiskey Jack and Tattersale have a thing going on before?
They were friends, or they were becoming friends through their alliance.
She met them at the
Okay.
start of Gardens.
Like
Okay.
a thing, or like
They were
Yeah,
like a
friends.
like
romantic thing?
Yeah.
No, they're
Okay.
There was
just friends.
there was trust building between them because of their alliance in the first book. That's it.
Okay, the reason why I ask is just because Whiskey Jack kind of hesitated before he called her a friend. So I wasn't sure. I was reading into it. We know more than the characters do about Silver Fox.
That's true.
Do you like that? Because I found that boring.
Well, we know more than the characters do about a lot of things at this point.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with it. I like piecing together all the bits of information that separate characters get that they don't have any context for. And then listening to the characters make wild speculations, some of which are pretty close to the mark, and others which aren't.
Are you talking about our podcast?
I just as well could be, couldn't I?
Okay,
So
next one, Panda.
maybe I'm like the listeners who are finding us very boring. Sorry. Okay.
Gruntle and his charge cross a river. Puke enlists with Bokalin? Yeah, Bokalin. And Corbel. Quick Ben consults a seer. Piran learns of his family's situation and reunites with Silver Fox. The bridge burners steal a table that has strange properties.
Crazy table.
Bridge burner stealing the table was my favorite.
Me too. That was my favorite scene in this chapter.
I loved how you learned about how Fiddler won all that money, and then they like tried to do it again, and it didn't work because of parents' card, and they of course didn't know that at the time, but we do because we've read. Yeah.
This chapter is packed full with bits and pieces of the Azath and houses and cards. It's really fun for somebody who's into lore.
Mm-hmm. I get really sad whenever I think of Buke.
Buke's so sad.
I know a guy in real life who he was drunk driving and he had a collision and he killed, I think, a mother and her baby.
Oh.
And, well, he doesn't drink anymore. But the extent to which those things haunt you, I don't know if I'd be able to live with myself. And here we can see Buke he wants to die. And I get it. How do you forgive yourself for something like that?
Gruntle knows this, right?
Gruntle knows about Buke. He tries to help him sometimes, but
Can't help somebody who doesn't want to help. So, I gave you guys a teaser for another part that I didn't care for. Here it is. So, the scene between the Witch of Talon and Quickbend is really, really cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really cool. But at the end, her last lines were, "Now shut that door. I prefer the cold." It should have stopped right there. It could be like, "Oh, why does this woman prefer the cold? That's a bit odd. She's an old lady." And then Quickbend literally thinks, "Strange. Most old people like heat and plenty of it." Dun, dun, dun. Or not, dot, dot, dot.
Mm-hmm.
I was fine with it. I would have never noticed it if you didn't draw attention to it. So
I was thinking that literally right before you said it.
This time or the first time you read it?
The
I
second
feel
time.
obliged to issue a small correction. She's not a Witch of Talon. She's a Witch of
Yeah,
Tennis.
tennis. Thank you.
Witch of the
Talon doesn't
Earth.
make any sense.
A Witch of Talon would just be a bonecaster.
Yeah.
Can only a bonecaster create new bonecasters?
A bonecaster is someone from the Talonimas who can use their warren, I think.
are you asking that because Prantrol was involved in creating Silver Fox?
Exactly.
That is how she was made, because she is spiritually at least a animas.
But like, how?
She was born in the influence of a Talon Warren.
Mm-hmm.
So the warren they were in was okay, got it.
Anyone else heartbreak from Piran?
Oh, very sad.
Like-
he even tries to go off by himself to be sad.
Yeah.
And that was killing me.
Yeah.
Like a punch in the gut.
And you got to wonder what he thinks of Tavor at the moment, right?
Speaking of which, my quote for this chapter is very reminiscent of Felison's thoughts about armor. So Perrin's thinking to himself, "Death and dying make us into children once again, in truth, one last time, there in our final wailing cries. More than one philosopher has claimed that we ever remain children, far beneath the indurated layers that make up the armor of adulthood. Armor encumbers, restricts the body and soul within it, but it also protects. Blows are blunted, feelings lose their edge, leaving us to suffer naught but a plague of bruises. And after a time, bruises fade."
Yep.
And sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just the echoes of Felison's thoughts about armor and childhood, like, and their brother and sister.
That part was difficult. I mean, it's death really evens the playing field. It's for sure for everyone. I mean,
There is a reason
in
it's called
our
the Great Leveler.
yes, in our world. I mean, in this world, but for humans, for the most part, yeah, it's the same. Piran is also very stubborn, though,
Mhm.
and he, like Whiskey Jack pointed out to Piran that he interrupted a superior.
The second time.
He says he has
Yeah.
to promote him.
Yeah, exactly. And he also interrupted Dujek as well. And I just took it like maybe Dujek didn't rebuke him because, he senses that Piran is dealing with the news about his family. But Whiskey Jack just calls him out on it. He's like, yeah, do we need to just like promote you so you we circumvent the confusion you have here on who's commanding who? Yeah.
Well,
Dujek is a cool guy.
Dujek also, like, in that scene was like pulling Piran aside to be like, "Let me tell you some distressing news."
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I feel like he was being more like sensitive that rather than being like than addressing him as his commander, kind of thing.
That's a good point.
Whereas, like, I think the context is different when Whiskey Jack calls Piran out, and he's lighthearted about it, so that it's not as
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I change the tone a little bit?
sure.
I'll allow it.
We're introduced to Spindle. That was
Spindle in
fun.
a disgusting hair shirt.
I like his Warren and how all the cats and dogs freak out. The like parent had literally never seen a cat run into a wall before. Run face first into a wall.
There's just a bunch of rats circling them.
That's amazing.
This character is so bizarre.
Don't you wash your shirt? No, my mother didn't.
My mother didn't wash her hair. It's like, oh my god.
Imagine the smell.
Oh God.
Well,
Yeah,
I
Spindle is
thought-
a disgusting man.
I thought it was like he was emitting some horrible stench, although nobody said anything about it until the shirt thing. But anyway.
I have no more notes about this chapter.
I have
either.
not one, but 2 quotes. And this is all the rest. Yeah. 66% of my quotes came from this chapter.
Too many.
There is no burying the history of our lives. Yellow nails and fingers of bone claw out from the ground at our feet and hold us fast.
What's the context?
Ooh, what's the context? Well, just you wait. I'll look up the context. Yes. This is Quick Ben ruminating on the sorcery-blasted hill where he met Tattersail. We burned with rage. We burned with the knowledge of betrayal. Here on the sorcery-blasted hill, we were ready to commit murder with cold, cold hands. And yeah, memories are not pleasant sometimes. And everyone is defined by them. And I think everybody would like a fresh start sometimes.
Yes.
That is what I have to say about that.
Memories is in the title.
It sure is.
They say memories of ice like 3,000 times in this book, in like many different contexts.
Memories is a common theme.
Speaking of ice, so the seer, right, who prefers the cold, this is a wild speculation. I'm just wondering if it has anything to do with the nameless ones.
Why?
Because the nameless one from Mappo's memory did a Jaghut-like gesture, and Jaghut, ice, cold.
I like it.
I was thinking she might be undead or something, but then they wouldn't have a preference, would they?
I don't think they would.
Yeah.
Why is he's chuckling behind his hand? Hurin is laughing at me.
I am laughing internally, but I'm too polite to make that explicit.
Thanks. Except you just told us.
I'm
They're
a very
gonna-
humble person.
They're gonna really crack up when we get to the end, and I'm asking tons of questions for Panda to predict.
Oh god. Okay. Your quote.
Yeah, my next quote. This is from Silver Fox. Blood-bound lives are the web that carries each of us. They make up that which a life climbs, from newborn to child, then child to adulthood. Without such life forces, one withers and dies. To be alone is to be ill, Warlord. Not just spiritually, but physically as well. And Erickson really thinks that communities are important.
Does he?
I mean, we know he does.
Do you think? Do you think he does?
He said he does, but maybe he just wants to make the reading experience more difficult for us.
I mean, look at us. We are a community reading his
community.
stuff, talking about it.
Sorry. Next chapter.
It's a good show.
It's a great show.
Good to go. Yeah,
I had something here.
naturally.
What happens to you when something you thought to be true is no longer true? What does that do to a person, especially something you were relying on so much and you drew so much confidence from? And this is about Dragnapur, where Anamander is like, nothing can escape from this sword, but Pran did. And Anamander doesn't quite know it yet, maybe. So I think Anamander's gonna find out and he's gonna go bonkers.
The correct answer to what do you do when you learn that things aren't the way you thought they were, just deny it. Cognitive dissonance is powerful, okay? Things won't get too uncomfortable if you just don't think about it. Or make up endless justifications for your bad beliefs.
Don't pretend like you don't do it.
Did I say I was blameless? I try very hard to be honest with myself about these things, and it has caused no small amount of pain. But that's it's an excellent way to grow.
Yeah.
Let's all bow down to Ashaman.
Chapter 5. Tok's journey with his companions proceeds with minimal complications, all things considered. The bromance thickens. The Malazans and Brood's forces discuss the implications of their alliance separately. Krupp and the ambassadors from Darujistan arrive. The bridge burners return the table. Anamander makes an entrance, almost breaking the alliance in the process. Baran learns of his new role, and the bridge burners depart. Matters are discussed.
I think I know why Jasnah likes this chapter.
Well, lots of reasons. Krupp is a big one, but Math as well, and Amanda Rake. But yeah, I missed Krupp, and I love that he stole the horses from the official Darujistan delegation, so they had to take mules. And also, like, I did not know until right before I read this chapter, because I listened to the Duke and Duchess podcast, and they talked about this, and I looked it up and verified that it was true. I did not realize how humongous great ravens are. So think about the interaction between Crone and Krupp, and she's 7 feet tall and has a 15-foot wingspan, and Krupp is basically a gnome, and I'm pretty sure he must have been a gnome in D&D, but they just made him a human that's short and fat instead. And he's like, "Oh, you should have been a dog," and but she's human. She's towers over him. Oh, I don't know. It's just great. I love it.
I think it said that because she was a dog.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, he's referencing that too, but just the gall of this little squat guy saying that to this giant bird. I never realized how huge Crone was, because she's always sneaking in the back of tents and perching on top of tents and doing a bunch of things that
Okay,
never seem
yeah.
But she's huge.
How can she hide under the table and nobody notice? Can she change her size?
Probably. She's magic.
I would
She
think
is,
she
yeah.
would have to. Yeah, she would have to be able to change her size. Because how would she get through Barak's window?
Right. See, it's those things. Maybe she's not maybe she's tall but not wide.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
and just has the wide wingspans that she can unfurl. But
then how tall is this table?
right, yeah, I don't know. But Great
I think-
Ravens are huge. Maybe Erickson forgets how huge they are in some scenes with Crone. I don't know, but they're big.
We have on good authority that he does make mistakes.
Yes. He's only human, a very intelligent human.
He doesn't keep notes. Oh my god. That was the surprise for me of the interview. He just has a couple of maps that he refers to. How do you keep everything straight with you and Cam? I don't know.
It's all written down. What are you talking about? It's the books.
Yeah, but they don't read those, or at least he doesn't.
He reads certain sections sometimes, but
His
Amazing.
major way to check continuity is to make Facebook posts asking readers what happened.
He's done that a few times.
Yeah.
Hilarious. A tool making tools.
I
love that.
I like how he basically as soon as Tok meets him and they share a joke, Tool essentially offers to make him arrows. And now he's passing on his cultural traditions to him.
A whole toolkit. Toolkit. And yeah, quiver and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're buddies.
They're
So
buddies.
cute.
I felt
I
bad
mean-
for Tok.
Oh,
Well, he was feeling so self-conscious with this beautiful woman, and he can't accept that she's into him. And he's like, "Why are you teasing me?" I genuinely felt bad for the guy. He just feels inadequate and self-conscious about his missing eye.
yeah.
Oh, have you guys seen How I Met Your Mother? Have you ever
I've
watched
seen
that?
a few episodes.
Yes, I have seen How I Met Your Mother.
So there's a trope
in
in
the
How I-
running for worst ending ever, by the way.
Probably it's pretty bad. But a lot of it is quite good. The first season's garbage and the ending's garbage. But there's a character, Barney Stinson, who's the worst misogynist ever. Not relevant to why I'm bringing it up. He always hears people say, "Oh, but you'd never do that," or "Oh, but you couldn't do that," in casual passing, and he's like, "Challenge accepted." And they're like, no,
Gosh.
that's not a challenge. And there was a scene in here where Lady Envy did this to Talk, where he basically was like kind of telling her that like her affection for him wasn't real, and she was like, I accept your challenge, and he's like, challenge? And I just instantly had Barney Stinson in my head. I'm like, challenges. I love it.
Yeah. And Talk's like, I don't know if I should be pleased or if I should be terrified by this woman's advances. Yeah.
I think Talk just needs to realize that women dig scars, and eye patches are cool.
I don't think he has an eye patch.
He should have an eye patch, is what I'm saying.
Okay. Rake is really, really cool in this chapter. Turns into a dragon, comes and talks to Silver Fox, and then I like when he like envelops her in his magic, and then like it's looking really dark and gloomy, and then Krupp just like makes this big scene.
Well, and doesn't Silver Fox like basically slaps his hand like
Yep.
metaphorically?
He tries to read her with magic, and she's like, no, get away. And you know what? Good on Silver Fox for that.
Yeah.
Animander, you
got older men.
Yeah, you gotta ask for consent before you do stuff like that. And then he was like gonna kill her afterwards. Animander, you're kind of messed up. An incel confirmed, maybe?
I think Animander could get women if he wanted to.
Oh, he has.
So you say.
I mean, he was with the Queen of Dreams, and he was with
Lady Envy.
Lady Envy. Yeah.
She probably got him to kill her dad.
I like how he's even cool off screen, because when we're learning more about the Segula, we also learn that Animander came to their island for about half an hour or so and dueled his way up to 7th position.
Yes. Also, yes, not I heard you. Yes, but yes.
You know why I said that, right?
Yes.
Because he's in the sword.
Yes.
So her dad's in the sword, so maybe like that she had something to do with that.
Dear.
That's my guess. That's my prediction.
Okay, how cool are the Segula? They are very cool. And how cool is Talk for being able to, Tool for being able to beat them without killing them? Just using the flat of his sword.
The Mock, I think that's his name.
Mock is the third, I think. He doesn't beat Mock.
Oh yeah, right. Third in ranking.
Mm-hmm.
He when Tool reveals that he'd used the flat of his sword, and then he just kind of like, what? That was
suddenly is paying a lot more attention to Tool.
You?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, some things that are maybe not so cool. Do you guys think that Quickbin, Whiskey Jack, and Mallet are justified in the way they're like talking about how they're going to manipulate Perrin behind his back, and or Perron, or however you say that? Like, do you think that they're justified in this like sort of calculating, like treating Perrin like he's like somebody they can like play like a chessboard?
I think
chess piece.
If you're in a position of leadership, you just have to do those things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think necessarily it's are they justified? I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to help Perrin see, like, hey, you have this really important role to play, and we're laying it out for you, like why it's important, and he's just not. He's not on board, mostly for like self-pity reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, but dude,
he's been through a lot.
He has been through a lot, but his sister's been through even more. And they're like, look, it's more than just you. It's more than just about you.
And do you think that's enough to justify them like conspiring behind his back about it?
I don't think I really see it as conspiring. I think it's more of they're trying to figure out how to survive, like including him, not necessarily against him.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think they do it with probably literally anybody in the Bridge Burners.
Yeah.
It's not special about Perrin. It's just right now it's about Perrin.
I will say that if one of my friends was given the equivalent of a nuke, I would definitely chat with my other friends about it as well.
Okay, now we got to see Raced again.
You got to see Raced again. We get to find out the guardian of the
Yay.
thinnest house.
Race is awesome.
Yep.
He did mention that there were people who like tried the door and were like walking around outside. I'm just take it as,
If that's how
Kalam
you need to take it, yeah.
Kalam and Fiddler did try the door and it didn't work.
Knock, knock, knock.
I like how ruthlessly unempathetic Race is towards Piran in this, because sometimes you just need a kick in the pants. Oh, you don't want this power? Too bad. The Azathos chose you. It should choose someone else? Too bad. It's not going to. Do your job.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
It's
I'm
funny.
sure the race did not want that job. So
No, he didn't. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, Piran says something sad, and he's like, yeah, I'm crying rivers for you.
I like how just like he still has all of his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And, like pieces of his body and flesh are just like coming off.
I think that he's just doing that because he's a drama queen.
right, because like his
He could
physical
absolutely
body,
heal himself if he wanted to.
his physical body's not there, right? Like, didn't he
is.
kind of like, didn't he like disappear into Krup's dream and then like possess Mammoth? And so like, it's not like he's really physically there. That's like how he views
Projection.
himself.
Dude, like Azath are like weird, man.
I think he does have a physical form there.
Right. But does it have to be with the injuries from the fight with the dragons still? I don't think so. That's what I'm saying.
I think it takes time to put your body back together after you've been blown apart by a cusser.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't his body.
Mammoths.
But man, like, it's all like weird, man.
Timey-wimey,
Okay.
Jeremy Bearimy sort of thing.
Jeremy bear me. It's the dot.
Do we want to do favorite quotes?
Yes.
Sure.
Do other people
I
have
have
quotes?
none.
I have none as well.
Do you have a Krupp quote?
I do have a Krupp quote.
Do it. Do it.
One instead of three because of quick gen. It says, the round man looked offended. Krupp and the truth are lifelong partners, friend Cole. Indeed, wedded bliss. We only yesterday celebrated our 40th anniversary. The mistress of veracity and I. Krupp is most certainly of need, in all things, at all times, and in all places. It is a duty Krupp must accept, howsoever humbly, rather.
I love it.
I love it too. He's my favorite character.
I would not be able to stand this man if I was living with him.
I'm fine reading about him and reading what he says.
Imagine
it.
playing with Erickson and he's playing this guy.
Well, Erickson has a painting of Krupp.
He
So
does.
he
An in
must have,
progress painting of Krupp.
yeah, so he must feel, some affection for the character.
Mhm.
I mean, he
I
played
used
him.
to-
It'd be fun to play as him.
Yeah.
I used him as a quest giver in my campaign, but yeah, as a PC, that would be something.
My quote is about Rake. Rake was an atmosphere, a heart-thudding, terror-threaded presence no one could ignore, much less escape. Violence, antiquity, somber pathos, and darkest horror. The son of darkness was a gelid eddy in immortality's current.
Metal.
Yes.
He's not a very nice guy, but he is a cool guy.
Yeah.
He
Um,
does
like
some
high
nice
school.
things, though.
He does nice things, but he also does horrifying things. So we find out that Kaladin Brood has a certain hammer which could destroy all life on the planet if he used it.
Yeah.
What would you do in a situation?
I would hide the hammer.
Hmm.
Can I destroy the hammer?
I
Can-
doubt it.
But hiding or destroying or not using the hammer means that your goddess is in a sick, fevered sleep forever, right?
You gotta
No,
figure
it
out a
means your
different
goddess
way.
eventually dies, and everyone else dies as well.
That's true.
Because once the crippled god kills Burn, as they say, he gets to infect all the Warrens.
And then no more magic.
Hmm.
I would use it for extortion. Well, like
$1 million.
like last year, Netflix canceled the Dark Crystal series, and if I could use it to get Dark Crystal season 2, I would do it.
I will
Um,
destroy all life on this planet unless someone brings me a sandwich. And you just got it. You can just keep playing the card because, if you look sufficiently deranged, maybe you'll do it.
yeah, the logic doesn't quite work there, but I get it.
See also the politics of the world just after America got the bomb.
Kalam is now the assassin of High House Shadow.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool.
What does that make Cotillion?
Assassin God.
Because isn't
Um,
Cotillion the assassin of High House Shadow?
I think he formally is. Like in the house structure, he is the assassin. But when the deck is laid out, it's not always the person who has that position in the hierarchy. It's whoever is best embodying that trait at the moment. Or so I've been led to believe.
Right.
I'm sorry, I was Virgin of High House Death, but she wasn't
Mhm.
part of House Death.
Yeah.
Same with Whiskey Jack in Gardens of the Moon was the Mason of High House Death, and he's
But he's
not
not
connected
actually.
to Hood.
Mm-hmm.
So you think?
Okay,
Well,
fine.
as a worshiper or part of the
You don't know what he gets up to in his spare time.
dear God.
I just figured like all these people are ascending. That's
No.
what I.
That's the answer to that. There is a
Okay.
lot of ascension, but the only one we see that is in the process of doing that is like Piran with
Paran.
his role as master of the deck. Yeah.
Yes, and Stormy are kind of there.
Yeah, but they're not in this book.
Okay.
So this
Um,
is the timeline of Memories of Ice is parallel to the events in Dead House Gates, and so with Kalam showing up as the assassin, it's him doing his assassiny things.
Which makes Artanthos as Heboric all the more impressive.
Though
some real sleight of hand that's going on. He pretends he's dying in a desert, but really,
so one chapter ago, when we were learning about Tavor and the situation with House Paran through Paran's perspective, I'm pretty sure the whirlwind hadn't happened yet. So Kalam showed up as the assassin of High House Death, or of High House Shadow rather, in the deck before he has gone to. He's not like in Shadow Realm yet at this point in the timeline. Is what I think.
probably.
Oh yeah, this could have been that scene where Kalam was in the inn place and all the cards are thrown him and he's
Yeah.
surrounded by the House of Death.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's important to note that although the whirlwind hadn't started, the whirlwind goddess is very much around.
Right. But I'm saying it's
Yeah.
early in Dead House Gates right now, in where we are in
Mhm.
Memory of Ice. I think.
Just clarifying for listeners who might have been confused.
Silver Fox scooped up all of the souls, ghosts, in the plane. Like, when I can't remember who exactly it was, they were like, all the ghosts are gone. Silver Fox did something there. And then
Oh.
Erickson.
Speaking of souls, did you catch what Kalor said to Quick Ben?
What?
He said he collects souls and offered to release them.
Also, the witch called him 12 souls.
Oh, I thought he meant like the Warrens that Quick Ben has access to, but no. So what? Everybody is smiling at me.
Also, what a move by Quick Ben to just kind of put Kalor on the ground and then
Oh
run
my
away.
God,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love I
He's like,
love that.
oh, it appears he's climbing out. I gotta go, guys.
Bye. Erickson used the word befuddled. I'm happy. Okay.
Ooh,
Move on.
that was for you.
I know.
I loved. I loved the Quick bin. Like, oh, there's a hole in the ground. Oh, so great. Chapter 6.
Oh, one thing. It's quick. In both
Ben?
Quick Ben and Krupp, we see smart people who know exactly where the line is, and they go right up to it. And it takes takes a lot of balls to do that, but also a lot of confidence in your own abilities.
Are you talking about like Quick Ben and Calor and then Krupp and everybody else?
Corrupting everybody he encounters, yeah. And also Quick Ben and, well, to an extent, the Crippled God, but he would have been screwed if he hadn't been saved. Quick Ben and Shadow Throne, certainly.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Gruntle and company pass through the city of Saltone, Caruli instructing the resident underworld on how to combat the Panion Domin. They then catch up to 3 Bargist, then reunite with Bokalin and Broach. Kachanchamal attack, and Gruntle is severely wounded.
Dinos with sword hands?
Dinos with
Yeah.
sword hands.
Alright.
Undead dinos with sword hands.
Undead
Mhm.
dinos with sword hands.
KL Hunters.
Yeah, Kachanchamal are cool.
I lifted these scenes right out of Memories of Ice and used them against my players.
All great artistry is theft, as we learned in our interview yesterday.
Not enough books have dinosaurs. I'm just going to any authors listening, write books with dinosaurs.
Especially if they're zombie dinosaurs with swords for hands.
Yeah, that gets them like an extra 2 cool points.
And we have like the mysterious Caruli, who's apparently a priest of a god.
An elder god, he said.
Speculation.
Cruel.
Caruli.
Oh, you think his god is cruel?
That could be a red herring by Erickson, but I'm gonna fall for it.
Yeah, I think his god's cruel, if only because Cruel's like the only one of the elder gods who's like back doing god stuff that we know of. So
Draconis is still in the sword.
and
as far as we know.
Nightchill is in a
Child.
15 or so year old girl at this point, probably.
He thinks he's still in the sword.
Mm-hmm. As we've seen, people escape from that sword. It's a pretty leaky prison. 2 escaped inmates in about 300,000 years. I don't know, 100,000 years, sorry.
I think it would be real finished Azeth House move to make it an elder god we haven't heard of yet. So I'm going to go with Cruel.
I think Harlow is cruel.
Harlow is cruel? You think Harlow is the elder god?
Did I stutter?
You did not.
Why?
Why not?
Just think about it, okay? You spent the last few millennia dead. What are you going to do? You're going to try and find a hot caravan guard to try and seduce. And then when that fails, you'll take a random Bargist up on her offer.
That's one of my quotes.
That came from left field.
Just think about it.
It's what I would do if I had woken up.
I'm not thinking about it.
I'm going to cut that. It was a joke, Panda.
I think you could keep it. It's fine.
We can have
Keep it.
jokes on this podcast.
We have a lot
it's
of jokes, though.
Do we?
Okay.
I love how petty Stunny is.
I don't like her character.
Someone sleeps with the man who's been trying to get her. Well, I'm just going to sleep with this boy.
Well, first she tries a few others. And they're like,
Pass.
Oh, thank you.
Also,
Well,
oh, go ahead.
Well, I think she actually likes Buke, and so she was gonna sleep with him because she's upset about the other thing, and then she actually gets upset because Buke turns her down.
Right.
Yeah.
Then she decides to just go for whoever, you know.
Yeah.
What a bro move by that one Bargist who said, "No, this guy, he's still
Yeah, he
unblooded."
hasn't. Yeah.
Wingman.
Yeah, right.
His brother, right?
Yes.
It's his brother. Yeah, they're all siblings.
I don't know. The humor in this chapter with that whole thing, it was okay.
I liked it.
It had my favorite part and my favorite humorous part in the first book.
On a more serious note, I really like the magic of the Bargist. I think it's really it's very shamanistic. It's not linked to warrens. It's, the old magic that the warlocks were using in 7 cities.
Dark fog.
Mm-hmm. And it kills one of the hunters pretty easily.
We'll learn more about it. Can I just read that part from Harlow because it's hilarious?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so Hetton, Hetton. She's like, I enjoy killing and riding men in little ales, Hetton growled, crossing her muscled arms. Harlow quickly clambered down from the carriage and approached her with a broad smile. I am named Harlow, and I'm delighted to make your acquaintance.
Awesome.
Yeah. Opportunistic.
You gotta be.
I get it.
I imagine Harlow as like a really scrawny dude. Like,
He's really tall and lanky, right?
yeah.
He has really long and muscly arms, and he has big hands. That's all.
Big hands.
Everything
Big
else
hands.
is big hands. Everything else is scrawny on him, or that's how I think of it, at least.
Well, didn't he say that in the first chapter because he said that his sword looked ridiculous? Because he has
does
like
have a
this
ridiculous
giant
sword,
sword. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thought he was
Two-handed
getting-
sword. The Stani and Nectara thing, I'm just like, why?
She was bored.
Yeah, that was a
But-
bit weird.
I mean,
She's bi-curious. That's what she's into.
no,
Well,
I
I'm
don't
a little
mind that they.
bi-furious.
I don't mind that like they did what they did. It's more of the context of when and where they did it. It's just like Carulia is having this speech and like there's this gathering and they're just okay.
And she's distracting everyone.
Yeah.
I think she did it for attention.
Maybe.
It was weird.
It was weird.
And the imagery of the children of dead seed. That wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty messed up.
Horrifying. Based upon a real phenomenon.
Really?
Yes. This is a thing that can happen.
Oh, well, I understand it can happen. It's just
Now you have something to look forward to.
what? I don't understand.
Chekhov's gun. He's gonna point out the children of the dead seed go off sometime.
Is that Chekhov's gun? I think that's just world building.
Sure, whatever.
If I were to bring up a Chekhov's gun here, the shaved knuckles and the hole are probably the ones. Oh,
The
Paladin
hammer.
Brood's hammer, yeah. That's what I was
Okay.
thinking. Yeah. Oh, this hammer could destroy the entire world. Hope he doesn't use it.
I have a quote, and then I have a question for Panda, and that I also don't know the answer to. So my quote is: "The soldier's moment. Now, before the battle begins, who would choose such a life? You stand with others, all facing the same threat, all feeling so very alone. In the cold embrace of fear, that sense that all that you are might end in moments. Gods, I've no envy for a soldier's life."
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a grimdark quote if I've ever heard one. Awesome.
Question.
Panda, do you think that we're gonna see Zombie Duiker in this book? He got brought back by Baruch, right? So
He did. It
and they
would
even took his body.
It would depend on whether or not the events of Memories of Ice extend beyond the timeline of Dead House Gates.
If they're not perfectly parallel, you mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just gonna say yes. I think we'll see something about Dwaker and it will lead into the fourth book.
Maybe like at the end,
Mhm.
teaser into maybe he plays a bigger role in book 4.
Yeah, at the very end.
That sounds like a pretty reasonable prediction. They kept a straight face through the whole thing.
They did. Oh.
I'm excited to get to Capistan.
Yeah. Well, we start getting that in the next chapter.
We do?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
I'm
So
excited for Panda to get to Capistan.
ooh. Okay.
You can start tonight
I
if you want.
can.
I already went to chapter 8. Or no, I think I'm on chapter 9.
So are we finished then?
I got
I
nothing
think we
more.
are.
Okay. That concludes this episode. If you want to join the read along or join in on the discussions we're having, check us out on the Legendarium's Discord. You can check out the link on thelegendarium.com. Also follow us on Twitter @GreenTeamPod. We welcome feedback. Let us know what you're enjoying and not enjoying about these discussions. Shout out to Horizon Brave for starring it all. And if you're enjoying our content, please consider supporting the Legendarium podcast on Patreon. Thank you to our panelists, Ashaman, JasnahAsABoy, and BefuddledPanda. I am Hurinfan. Until next time.
Pew pew.
Pew, 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 pew.
Pew.